If you get to go someplace that's highly unusual, like flying in space or into the stratosphere or wherever a frontier might be, photography is one way to tell the story.
Long before Don Pettit became NASA's longest-serving active astronaut, he was experimenting with cameras as a kid growing up in Oregon.
I became interested in photography at a real early age, and I had a Kodak Brownie box camera and shot black and white film and started to develop it, and that aspect of my persona has stayed with me for my whole life. Always have a camera with me.
And that includes when he headed to the International Space Station.
Booster ignition at full throttle, and we have liftoff of Pettit, O'Cheenan, and Wagner.
But photographing the Earth and the night sky from orbit presents challenges photographers never face on the ground.
The International Space Station orbits about once every 90 minutes. One side stays in view of Earth. And if you're on space station and you have a camera mounted, it's looking out the window, from your perspective, station is pitching down. And if you have stars in the background and take a picture, they become streaks. You need a machine in order to compensate, called an orbital sidereal tracker. As station is pitching down, it's pitching up at the same rate, so the camera is constantly pointing at the stars. And this allows you to increase your exposure and still have the stars as points.
But there was a problem. The orbital tracker device Pettit needed didn't exist. Not until a friend connected him with Rochester Institute of Technology professor Ted Kinsman, a photographer and imaging specialist accustomed to building custom tools.
Well, it was a phone call from Peter Blacksburg. He says, I know this astronaut and he needs this thing for the International Space Station. And I originally thought, well, no problem. I'll hook up some Arduinos, some stepping motors, and we'll build this thing in, a weekend. But then I heard, no, it can't have any electronics.
You have to get a safety review of all the stuff you're bringing, and they're really concerned about anything that has batteries in it, because batteries can do bad things, particularly when you're in a vehicle where you can't roll down the windows or open the doors and get a breath of fresh air.
I knew that there was clocks that were built for special applications, and I was looking for one that turned once every 90 minutes or about that. I was able to find a clock mechanism of an old chart recorder, which was originally designed to go in ovens. So this particular chart recorder turned around once an hour and could operate at 500 degrees Celsius, which was way beyond any application that the International Space Station would have. And I figured it would be pretty rugged and a good place to start. And I used some gear ratios to get the one turn every 90 minutes. I wasn't sure how Don was going to mount this in the ISS, so I started covering the whole thing with quarter 20 bolt holes, which are used to mount photographic camera equipment.
And so it went tick-tock, tick-tock.
It was really loud,
yeah.
Really loud. But I think it ran for 180 minutes after you wound it. I'm sorry about the noise.
Oh, well, the tick-tock is good because when you are actually using it to do imagery, it lets you know that everything's working fine. Because sometimes things can get stalled out and then the tick-tock stops. And then you know, oh, something's wrong, and then you fix it.
And together, their partnership expanded what could be photographed from orbit.
Here's this wind-up clock motor that some friends of mine built this, colleagues of mine at RIT. And before this tracker, you could take a picture of the Milky Way and you could see, yeah, that's the Milky Way, but they weren't a representation of what you could really see. And this tracking device, by increasing the exposure time by a factor of 60, allowed really well-exposed images of faint objects like the Milky Way, the zodiacal light, galaxies like M31, the spiral galaxy in Andromeda, the Large Magellanic Clouds. All of these shades were now possible to image in their available splendor in a composition from orbit. you're looking at the limb of the Earth and you're seeing the atmosphere on edge. You're seeing this faint reddish glow above the atmosphere. You could see things on the scale of half a continent. All of this in a composition that's not possible if you are on Earth. And then there's other phenomena that occurs at the same time, like Starlink satellite flashes. You could see aurora sometimes. There's all of this phenomenon on top of an image of the Milky Way. I took tens of thousands of pictures with this thing, tens of thousands, maybe even more. You get seduced by the orbital period. So you're off duty, it's like, okay, it's really time to hit the sack, but oh wow, look at that aurora. And you take all these pictures during an aurora pass, and then you look at your watch and say, you know, in 90 minutes it's gonna repeat. Let's do it again. And you keep doing this, and you keep doing this, and you keep doing this, and finally you end up having to hit the sack. And then you wake up in the morning and you can't call in and say, hey, I wanna sleep in. I call this having an aurora hangover.
Looking back, Pettit and Kinsman saw the collaboration as an opportunity to demonstrate that some of the most effective solutions come not from complexity, but from collaboration and creativity.
I am pretty sure that this is the only tracker that will ever be built in this form for the International Space Station or for space in general. So this is a one-off project, and it was really a pleasure to work on this project. You took some very nice pictures with it.
Although Pettit hasn't received a launch date for a future mission to the International Space Station, his love of photography ensures he'll keep taking pictures wherever he happens to be, on Earth or in orbit.
We'll see what value these kind of pictures have as time ticks on. Meanwhile, I'm just going to be taking whatever camera I happen to have with me, which is the best camera to have, and keep taking pictures whenever composition comes up that says, wow, this is interesting, let me take a picture.